Hello and welcome to TA for Traders. It's Wednesday the 8th of November. In this video we're going to look as usual at 2 UK and 2 US stocks. In the UK we're going to concentrate on the retail sector. Marks and Spencer's has come out with figures today. We'll look at the charts there, and we're going to go back and look at Tesco. In the US, we're going to look at a couple of companies that have had secondaries overnight. Axel, which is the code AXL, they had a 263 million secondary that priced quite tight, 2% discount at 17.55. And then we're going to finish with Voyager Pharmaceutical, VYGR. They had a secondary, what did not go well at all, priced at a 10% discount to the close at 12, and that was a £54 million offering, and we'll look at the charts there. Let's look at those charts. So starting with Marks and Sparks, obviously the code MKS, and you can see here on the weekly that we've moved back below. You can't really see where we are at spots, but it's back below that 20-day, 326.8 as I speak. We did have a break up on the news this morning, but it's come down, and you can see now that we've got a very small body on a long stem, which is indicative of uncertainty. Big trading range, but we haven't gone anywhere this week, and we're below the moving average. You can see the 20 move below the 50 back in September, and that will be a downside influence on the stock price. Momentum is negative on this weekly. The RSI in a downtrend and below 50 at 43.29, and the MACD are just crossing. On the daily, you can see that today, obviously we're only halfway through the day, but we have got an engulfing bearish picture given the big move that we've had today. It has rallied over the last hour, so there is a chance it won't be engulfing when we close. That needs to be really, as long as if it's above 327.8, then it won't be an engulfing picture. But it does look bad that we went up to the resistance and came straight back down. Momentum negative, 31.75 on RSI, and the MACD are below zero and still moving down. On the 4-hour picture, obviously we are having this very bearish candle on that's just about to finish as we get towards the end of the 4-hour. Very close to being engulfing from the previous 4-hour. You can see it's very close. The next 5 minutes trading quite critical actually for that. Support would come in, or it did come in 325, although the low on the 4-hour was at nearly 316. You can see the high volume we've had on the figures. The moving averages moving down will be resistance. At the start of the 4-hour, the 50 on this 4-hour came in as the resistance above the 340. Really, given the downside momentum, RSI down at 35.3, one would expect a further move to the downside. And also because of the gap, it's not surprising we moved up and filled the gap in the short term, but that gap is a break to the down, have a move up, and then I would not be surprised if we have another break to the down over the next couple of days at some point. Okay, moving on to Tesco. You can see that I think I last did a video back in the summer. We did break a downtrend line, which was quite good, but we've now broken down. We failed to go through this 50-week moving average, which rolled over and is a solid resistance line. That's up at 180, just below 187. Longer term picture looks negative as the 200 week average continues to track down. The RSI, again indicative of negative momentum, 43.36, and the MACD tracking sideways at the 0 but likely to move lower. We've also excuse me, fallen below the support of the 20-day moving average. So found resistance at the 50, found no support at the 20. That will now start to roll down, and really I would not be surprised if we don't end up testing the supports in the 170 to 165 area again. On the daily picture, you can see that we broke down through the support of the 20 and the 50-day moving average. They've now rolled and created a bearish cross with the 20 crossing the 50. That occurred on Monday. We're now getting the 20 about to cross the 200 in a bearish formation. So that will confirm the bearish picture from the moving averages. We've got negative momentum on the RSI. That's right down at 30.45. Also, the low that we had today was a low on the RSI, so there's no sign of any short-term bounce arriving as yet. MACD confirms that downtrend in momentum. On the 4-hour, here you can see that the decline happened when the 20 and the 50 failed to hold the market. They then created a bearish cross and will now act as resistance. We've also just had the 50 cross the 200 in a downward direction, another bearish sign for the medium term on this 4-hour. And you can see that we're holding on to our fingertips by the support from August on the 4-hour, and really looks like that is going to subside over the next day or two. Negative momentum again with the RSI down 27.22 and no sign of a bounce. Okay, moving across to the States, American Axel. You can see that on the secondary it did price 17.55, so round just above that 50-day moving average, and really that does need to hold today. We found resistance at the downtrending 200 week moving average, so we're likely to get a pincer movement between the 200 and the 50 week averages. Momentum, which was okay, has now drifted, still above 50, so still positive, but does need to track sideways over the next week or two to if we stay above that 50-week moving average. On the daily, you can see that we've had 3 solid down days. A move to 17.5 today. The pricing of the secondary would see the 4th day. Would then be looking at testing the support as the 50 days likely to come up and to be testing that level in the next couple of days. That will be a key tester. On the medium term, you can see that we did have a downtrend that was broken. That was a flag. Good move up. It should have continued or consolidated. The fact we've broken down now makes this 17.4 level very critical. A move below there could see us back below the 200-day moving average. That's moving down at 17.09. A move below there would see probable push down towards 16.5 and 16. Momentum still above 50 on the RSI, but it's in a downtrend, 50.87, and likewise the MACD are tracking downwards. On the 4-hour, we've moved back below the 20 and 50. They're rolling over, very likely to cross tomorrow or in late trading today in a bearish fashion. You can see the support levels this 17.4 seems very, very critical. RSI back below 50, 45.49, and MACD just crossing towards the downside and below zero, so you need to watch those as well. Okay, moving on to the last stock today, Voyager Therapeutics. They had a secondary as well, priced very badly, down at 12. So an open at around about the 12 level today would take it down below the 50-week moving average. So really, one hopes that it'll open about 12.47 above that 50-week to maintain that support. So very critical on that 50-week on this chart. You can see that given the last 3 weeks, momentum is very much to the downside. Back below 50 on the RSI, 47.2, and the MACD as well are tracking together. On the daily, and you can see that we've left a gap yesterday, and we're going to be opening around about the rising 200 day. That's 12.44. Very much like the 50-week, that does need to hold. If it does, I think it'll be short term. You can see that we left a gap that goes down to 10.86 on the 6th of September. I would say that we're very likely to fill that gap now, and a move to 10.86 would probably then move back to the more solid support, which is seen around about 9.5. So a bit of a bearish picture here as well. Momentum very negative. RSI 28.92, and the MACD short term has now moved below zero, confirming that negative momentum. Finally, moving on to the 4 hour, and you can see that even with yesterday's trade, we moved below the 200 on the 4 hour. The secondary priced at 12. That's taken us into this gap territory. That gap will be filled, and as I said, eventually I would see a drift down to towards the key supports below the 9 level. First kind of support will come in at the top of that gap at 10.9, but because of the volume on the downside, you can see the build-up of the volume. I would say it's going to move lower. Right, thanks for watching this video from TA for Traders. If you're not a subscriber, please do hit the subscribe button. You then get email updates when I come out with new videos. I don't just look at single stocks, I do stock indices. Today I did a video on the Aussie 200, which was quite interesting. I also do commodities. I did a video today on silver, which will be up soon on YouTube, and also I do FX, and I did a video today on the US dollar, Japanese yen, which will be up on YouTube shortly as well. These videos are for information only and are my opinions, and they're not investment recommendations.